It's 12 o'clock. It is Monday. What is this? April 19th. And we're halfway through the month of April, heading into the second quarter. And we are the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce. I'm Eric Knowles, president, and it is Member Connection. But before we get started, a message from one of our friends.
My name is Amber Longhorn, and I am the director of Jackson Health Systems Small Business Enterprise Program. Jackson is proud to partner with the Miami-Dade Chamber of Commerce in bringing you this video series. We hope you'll gain valuable information and tools on doing business in Miami-Dade County, but especially with Jackson Health System. We invite you to visit us online for more information at www.jacksonsmallbusiness.org.
Once again, thank you for joining us. And as I am trying to connect on Facebook and get everybody on, it is the Miami-Dade Chamber Member Connect on a Monday afternoon. And I have the world famous, the man himself, Mr. Bob Tyler, IGWT Construction. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful, sir. How about yourself?
Hey man, I can't complain. As I said, I'm on top of the grass. I'm not under the grass, man. And nobody had to carry me. I didn't need 6 friends to carry me.
It's better to be talking to you than about you.
I'm thankful and grateful for beautiful weekend this weekend. I don't know if you were here in Miami.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, beautiful weekend. So definitely excited about the spring. And, we talked about, we were talking about getting the shots, before we came on live. And, obviously everybody's transitioning. And when I say everybody, we're all transitioning. Everybody isn't getting the shots. I mean, there's still a little controversy out there about that whole piece about getting the shots. But, the main thing is we got to stay diligent, got to stay safe. We got to wear our mask because a lot of people think, well, if I get the shot, why do I still have to wear the mask and so on and so forth. So I don't know, how you've been dealing with that.
I'm married to a physician, internal medicine physician, as you know.
Oh, well, we definitely want to hear from you. So, give us that insight.
One of the things that she points out is that even though you've been vaccinated, what the vaccine ensures is that the virus, if you contract it, it won't kill you and probably won't hospitalize you, but you still have the possibility of contracting it like a bad cold or flu. So like in times past when we've seen people take flu shots on an annual basis, there's a strong likelihood that this virus, that this COVID will lead to something like that.
Right.
Thing that we take every year. I think it's interesting, though. You pointed out earlier that not many of our community is engaging. I mean, we fought hard, yourself included, to make sure that these centers were located in our community and easily accessible. But when you go there, I would say at least half of them are other cultures, other than ours. So, it makes you wonder. I mean, we fight to make sure that it's included, and then we don't take advantage of it.
Absolutely. When you talk about that, I mean, when we switch over to the business conversation, the reason why we're here, and you're on, as a matter of fact, you're the chair of the advocacy committee, and we talk about advocating and pushing so that we can be in front of the line, or at least be in the line. A lot of times we are not prepared, even though when we're in the background knocking on those doors, knocking down the doors, it's about preparation. But before we go there, I want to back up and properly again introduce yourself. You're the founder, president of IGWT Construction. So in God we trust. So talk about that a little bit. How long you've been in the construction business, and what even made you decide to go that direction?
It's funny. I've been doing this for what feels like 100 years, but probably actually is over 30 years. I started my first job out of school was with Alcoa, the aluminum company, in their research and development facility. So construction was not on my mind at that time.
Right.
Uh, and I was doing mechanical engineering at that research and development facility and for Alcoa. Um, we were working on a smelting process development lab, which is tunnel kilns and that are used to melt down the ore to turn it into aluminum. So we're developing these specialized parts. Mine was a moisture trap that trapped the moisture in the tunnel kilns. Long story short, Eric, a patent came out on that, and it came out in my boss's name. Now, they didn't do anything wrong. You sign an agreement at research and development for the first day that says anything you invent or create becomes the property of the company. And but I just thought seeing my name in lights might have helped. So when it came out in my boss's name, I felt some kind of way, and I knew I was about to do something different.
Right.
And that something different brought me to South Florida, and I started off with one of my buddies, thermally, so you know, and he and I started out in his garage and built a company that ended up on Black Enterprise.
Right. 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 So I know in construction, like you said, when you started out, there are a lot of specialties. Obviously, you're a GC. Want to break that down for folks who don't understand
Yeah.
construction and how it functions?
So when you see a project come together, there's a lot of bodies involved. Obviously, there's the owner of that property, whether it's the school board, the airport, a private owner, whatever the case is, and that owner generally will hire a architect to design what it is that they want, and perhaps a construction manager. If not, he'll hire a general contractor. That general contractor will hold all the subcontracts, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, fire protection, roofing. That general contractor gives the owner a price of what it will cost to build that particular building, including all of the sub trades. And that general contractor manages his work as well as that of the sub trades, and hopefully some period later hands the owner the keys and says, here's what you designed, in a perfect world.
Right, right. And I've been running a chamber now. Like I said, time. It's been 7 years, and I'm learning a lot. I mean, every day learning something new. But the one thing that I see, you hear about general contractors. Um, One thing I've learned is that um, project management.
Mhm.
A lot of construction firms want to focus on project management versus actually putting cinder blocks,
Yeah,
pouring concrete in the ground,
yeah.
drop rebar in the ground. So explain that.
Yeah, that is a trend, and that trend is largely driven by the fact that nobody wants to carry crews anymore, particularly general contractors. Nobody wants to carry carpentry crews, masonry crews, concrete crews, drywall crews, and that's labor intensive. And when you do that, you carry the payroll associated with that. So a small firm like myself will be struggling to meet a payroll that could potentially be $30,000, $50,000 a week, a couple $100,000 a month maybe. And so when you're not carrying those crews and you only have a management team, you have two, three, or four people who are managing the project, you have a guaranteed fee associated with managing that project and a very small payroll. So uh, the trend is, and it's about mitigating risk as well. Although some owners are going to a construction manager at risk, which means that you still have to give them a guaranteed maximum price that it won't exceed. So there's a lot of different types of, there's construction manager, the owner's agent, which is purely fee-based. And then there's construction management at risk or providing a GMP. Either way, the trend is moving away from carrying your own crews to managing a project and subbing it to somebody who's crazy enough to carry their own crews. We fall in that crazy category still.
Well, you can't, no one ever really broke it down for me, so it kind of makes sense because again, it as a carrying all those various specialties. To your point, that that's quite a hefty load that you would have versus managing subcontractors.
Yeah. And because we live in a litigious society and everybody's litigation oriented, everybody's trying to mitigate risk or minimize their exposure. So if you can push the exposure or the risk for drywall to somebody else and the concrete to somebody else and masonry to somebody else, then you take a smaller fee, obviously, but it's for a lot less risk. And you don't have to carry the payroll.
But, right. So one thing that you as a member of the chamber, you were a big part of was the Jackson Health Systems, who happens to be a sponsor of our new meetups. You were part of the Mentor Protege program. Can you talk about that a little bit and what that means?
A lot of folks early in the process, yourself included, and Ron Frazier and Daryl Hosendorf, a lot of major players came together. And when the general obligation bond was being passed to fund this project, we're talking about in excess of $1 billion, probably $1.5 billion. When that general obligation bond was being voted on and being lobbied to be voted on by the taxpayers, we took advantage of that and wanted to make sure that there was some inclusion there that would ensure small businesses and minority and specifically Black-owned businesses would have a role in the procurement of over $1 billion. And one of the things that was born out of that was the Mentor Protege program. One thing we were asking for, and you'll see the chamber ask for this in all public-private partnerships, but one thing we asked for there, and it's turning out to be a model, was that when procurement packages were released, that there will be a requirement that the prime contractor would associate with a smaller prime, with a small or minority prime contractor in a Mentor Protege capacity. That's particularly critical for healthcare related projects because they have what's called ACHA regulations that is used to sometimes keep us out. If you don't have any ACA experience, and this is a healthcare accreditation, if you don't have ACA experience, then you can be precluded from participating in healthcare projects. Well, this gives the opportunity for these small businesses to gain that critical ACA experience at the prime level while participating with another prime and hopefully learning the things that you may not already have. So that was a critical component. And yes, we were one of I believe 5 firms that participated in the Mentor Protege program. We just had a summary meeting a couple of weeks ago where we kind of evaluated what we did and talked about how we could tweak it to make it better. But we really expect that to be a model for something that moves forward.
Oh, that's great. And, I talk about it all the time. And obviously you with the advocacy committee, we have engaged with the county in pushing this whole mentor protege conversation, and not just conversation, but making sure that, my focus has been that all P3 public-private partnerships should have some type or mechanism of a mentor protege component to it.
And we believe that's a very reasonable ask. And I think that, and we expect to have the political support to see that manifest into an ordinance or some type of legislation.
So you've been in business, like you said, it's been a minute. Like you said, it seemed like 100 years. So what would you say your biggest challenge was? Access
to capital, because linked with that is bonding. And so most projects have performance and payment bond requirements, and it, that's going to be linked, your performance and payment bonds, or your ability to qualify for a bond will be linked to your previous experience in projects of that size, as well as your capital on hand. So translated in simple language, if I'm getting $1 million bond, they're going to want me to show 10% of that in available capital. $1 million bond means that I got direct access to 100,000 in capital, and I've got experience in doing $1 million plus projects in the past. So a relationship like that with a bonding company will allow you to move up and take bigger bites, bid on bigger projects, which simultaneously means you need access to more capital as you get bigger. And this is why you see some firms, what we talked about earlier, moving away from self-performing to managing projects, because then you don't have to put up that type of bond and have that type of capital to payroll, to fund a payroll that could be 100,000 a month or 200,000 a month. One of the unique things that we did on Jackson. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
One of the unique things that we did at Jackson was that we participated at the construction management level in association with our mentor Prime, but we also did a couple of general contractor packages, which was the stair tower and the connecting corridor that connected the the west wing with the Christine E. Lynn rehab building. So that was a general contractor package, about $2 million. We subcontracted to Turner in a general trades package, which was about $1 million, and then we served as a construction manager. So we had three capacities. We at different times over a couple of year period, but we were serving as a construction manager and mentor protege, a general contractor on a package, and then a subcontractor on a package, and that has its problems that would take you and I about an hour to go through. But
there's a lot of moving parts.
Yes, sir. Interesting.
A lot of moving parts. Yeah, but going back to this whole thing of bonding, probably the biggest, one of the biggest impediments for small businesses to grow, because you have to have that money in the bank to basically say that you will be covered.
Yes, and it's used because of we talk about systemic racism these days. If you don't have access to capital, because a bank is not going to lend to, doesn't like contractors that much, period, let alone black contractors. So
right.
It ends up being a microcosm of systemic racism, just to require that and not have ways and means to provide that.
Right. So we talked about one of the biggest challenges. So what would you say was one of your biggest wins?
We had a lot of wins along the way. We were the shell contractor for Northwestern High School. And that was a big win for us. We did a demo on that also. We demoed the auditorium, and that auditorium just happened to be a place where we were worshiping. Newburgh Baptist Church at that time was worshiping at Northwestern's auditorium. And so for us to be the contractor that did that demolition and later erect the building plural that you see now as Northwestern High School, that was a huge win for us. We were part of the Olympics, 96 Olympics in Atlanta, and we built the equestrian venue. That was a big, huge accomplishment for us. We had some airport projects here in Miami and Fort Lauderdale and other airports that represented big accomplishments. But at this point in my career, when you look back, you get to point to a lot of trophies and say, yeah, I did that. But then you look and say, a lot of money passed through my hands, but where is it? In my latter years, I'm being smarter about what I take on. We're picking and choosing what we work on, and our days of proving ourselves, I believe, are over, and definitely over are our days of looking for trophies that we can point to. So if we can't do business and make money, we pass on projects now.
Right. And just speaking about that, passing on business versus going after everything that's out there. That's what a lot of companies find themselves shooting themselves in the foot. Actually, on our Friday Zoom, one of Rodney with Dream Clean, he mentioned when he first started, he would go on about 1,000 calls as far as trying to get business, but he wasn't qualifying those calls versus he was just going after it. And started qualifying those calls, it reduced that down to 1,000 to 175. So again, you can't go after everything that's out there. And speaking about that, there are government jobs, whether you're working with Dade County, whether you're working with the school board, whether you're working with municipalities or the state. So what is your sweet spot? I mean, obviously there's public, private, there's, the private side of doing business. So talk about that a little bit.
That's a good question, Eric. I would recommend a comfortable balance between the private sector and public sector. You don't want all of your work to be public sector, and you don't want all of it to be private sector. You stand a good chance in the private sector of not getting paid. People in the public sector, you're likely to get paid as long as you do your work, and it could be longer than you expect, but you will eventually get paid. So a good, comfortable balance between the public sector and private sector is primary in my recommendation. I think for our sweet spot is probably in the $2 to $3 million range for a single project. If this is something that we'll self-perform on, and if it's something that we have to fund ourselves, we generally plan on carrying ourselves for the first 60 days of a project. So if you've got a $2 million project that's going to be done in 12 months or in 1 year, then you're going to spend somewhere around $200,000 a month. And if you got to carry yourself for 2 months, then you ought to have access to somewhere around $400,000 for that $2 million project. If you don't, then you're setting yourself up for the project to run longer, or for you to be undercapitalized or run into problems, and then the client gets mad at you. So that's a formula that we know works for us. And so if I've got a good balance in private sector and public sector, my private sector works may have some projects where there's upfront money. That's something I won't see in the public sector. But if some of my projects in the private sector can be funded that way, it allows me to flow more through the company and realize some overhead and profit as I go. Most of what we do right now is schools and hospitals. We're being drawn into the affordable housing market. We're doing multifamily housing. I don't do a lot of single family houses or custom homes, but my friends, usually somebody I know, will draw me into some of those. We just did a very large, 10,000 square foot custom residence for a ball player friend of mine. And prior to that, I think we did one on Key Biscayne for my cardiologist. So if I get drawn into a custom house or single family, it's usually a friend, somebody close. Other than that, we're basically schools, hospitals, and affordable housing. We do tenant build out, where you get a shell and a restaurant, or somebody says, I want to build out my restaurant in that 3,000 square foot vanilla shell or whatever. So we're doing that tenant build out type of work as well.
Right. But we could talk all day about this business called construction. So if someone wants to get in touch with IGWT, how can they do that?
Obviously, the traditional means, I mean, we do have a website. Our website is out there. Our phone number is 786-518-2394. We're located in Miami Lakes. We've been here probably about the last 10 years. Our next move would probably be just to buy some property in the city and just run ourselves out of there with an office trailer or something like that. But right now, we're conveniently located in Miami Lakes and very reachable by website, internet, LinkedIn, all of the most common, even Facebook. My daughter tells me I got to step up to Instagram or some of the other ones. I haven't done that.
Right. Well, hey, you got to be social media savvy these days, as they say.
I've learned.
So if anyone wants to get in touch with the chamber, you can go to www.m-dcc.org, and our number is 305-751-8648. And just to let our audience know, on April 30th, we will be having our business leaders luncheon. It'll be our first in-person event at the Hyatt Regency downtown in Miami. It begins at 11:30. It goes until 2 o'clock. We have the president of Miss Nancy Meyer, and we also have the executive director of the Center for Black Innovation, Ms. Felicia Hatcher, who will be our guest, and we'll be talking about business in 2020 and 2021 and beyond. And Ms. Bernadette Morris will be our moderator of that conversation. So we invite you all to come out. Seating is limited. We do have COVID restrictions, so a room that normally holds 800, we'll only have 150 people in there, and it will be virtual as well. So again, call the chamber at 305-751-8648 to learn more about that and how to get tickets for that, or how to either to attend in person or virtual. So Bob, thank you so much. Look forward to our continued conversations. And again, tell them how they can get in touch with IGWT.
Again, our phone number is 786-518-2394. Our website is IGWTconstructioninc.us. www. All that what I just said.
All that. All right, my brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, man. Thanks for
Absolutely.
Take care.